Well, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to see you. And we're heading north today, which is very exciting. So a little tour of North Yorkshire, which must be one of the most beautiful counties. My father, as he comes from that part of the world, would definitely argue that it's probably the most beautiful place in the country. But we've got a little bit of maybe a little bit of debate to have on that one. So I mean, North Yorkshire is a large county, a very beautiful one. So what we've tried to do is give you a really good feel for the highlights and the different. I mean, there really is something for everybody. If you've got clients wanting a bit of history and culture, there's more than you can shake a stick at. And for those slightly more adventurous and active based clients, there's certainly lots to enjoy. So we're going to give you a bit of a taste and a visit to the stunning Old Swan as well, which will be magical. I mean, the moors, the North York moors, are so beautiful. And if you want to see some fabulous scenery, just watch a good old Charlotte Bronte or Anne Bronte film, and you'll have I mean, Wuthering Heights has got to be it. You've got to really enjoy the North York moors with a bit of Wuthering Heights, which is lovely. And there's so much diversity and character to it. It's got I mean, the most beautiful moorlands and areas of parkland, but then you've got this incredibly dramatic coast. I mean, there are parts of Devon and Cornwall that are really quite dramatic, but they can't quite match the Yorkshire coast. And you really do blow the cobwebs out as you're walking down there. It really is quite glorious. So there really is. I mean, whatever your passion, the scenery and outdoors is absolutely stunning. Now, we thought this might be useful to put it into perspective. As you can see from the map of England, we are quite far north. Now, in American terms, traveling about 3 or 4 hours by car is nothing to you guys, I know, but for us, that's quite a long journey. It's from one end of the country to the other. But it is certainly, we'll talk more about getting up there in a minute, but it's certainly well worth the trip. And there's some wonderful highlights. We'll talk about the North Yorkshire moors, which are stunning. And York, home of the amazing York Minster, which I think can rival the Sagrada Familia, actually, because I found out it took 252 years to build York Minster. Now, it's fantastic, it's amazing. I'm sure a few people were rather disappointed not to see the finished article as it was being built, but yeah, it's extraordinary. And apparently they have more medieval glass within York Minster than any other church or cathedral in the country. So York is just lovely, and obviously also famous for good old Betty's tea rooms, where you just get the best cakes and tea varieties and Lord knows what than you can imagine. I think Harrogate is one of my favourites. It's a bit smaller. It's incredibly well known and well visited for being a spa town, because they have lots of lovely mineral spas around the town, and it really it's just lovely. There are some beautiful hotels because it has become a sort of a real venue for exhibitions and so on now. So as long as we can avoid those, Harrogate is just lovely. There's something very sort of oldie worldy about it. And on that note, it also hosts the oldest sweet shop in the world. And this has been certified by Guinness, by the Guinness Book of World Records, apparently. 1827 this sweet shop has been trading since, so they've done pretty well to keep going. And I also love Ripon, and Ripon is a city, although it is one of the smallest cities in the country. I mean, it's a city because it's got a beautiful old cathedral, and it's a little city with a big punch and lots of beautiful cobbled streets, little dinky shops and cafes and pubs and so on. And they have a rather bizarre tradition in Ripon. An old boss of mine used to live up there, so I used to go and go up there a fair bit. And at 9 o'clock every evening in the market square, they blow a horn 4 times. Apparently, this dates back to good old Alfred the Great in about 886 AD, I think, where he recognized the settlement of Ripon and gave them a horn as a present. So as in recognition of being given a horn, they blew it every night 4 times at 9 o'clock. Who knew? But it really is lovely. Leeds is fabulous. That's where I went to university, spent 3 years of my life up in Leeds. And the walks around, the wonderful thing about York and Leeds and so on, you really don't need to go very far at all to get out into some fabulous wild Yorkshire countryside. So it really is fabulous, and brilliant racing. The St Leger is the most famous horse race to take part at Doncaster, but it's a great race course, actually. Lots of fun and atmosphere. So there you go. There's a heck of a lot to see, and you could really spend quite a bit of time doing the rounds. Now, getting up there is wonderfully easy, actually. I mean, yes, you can obviously jump in a car and so on, but the train journeys are utterly magical. The one route that literally goes up the east coast of England is absolutely spectacular, and you can sit back and have some lunch and so on, and then get there refreshed, ready to hit the sights. So the train is great. Flying up there obviously is an option, and Leeds Bradford is certainly a growing international airport now, and very easily reached from Dublin. So lots of different ways to get up there. It is quite well known for its rain over the winter, so we'd probably recommend, unless you've got some particularly hardy clients, sticking to between May and September. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful throughout the year. And here are, I won't go through them all because there are some stunning hotels. If you've got clients who want more city-based in Leeds or York or Ripon, equally there are the stunning country house hotels where you're out in the middle of nowhere, through to your sort of boutiquey style. The Hare is probably one of my favorites, but wherever your clients want to go, we will obviously share our favorite options with you. But there really are some stunning places to stay. And one of the most famous things about heading and reasons for heading up north are the incredible national parks. I mean, to have 3 national parks in one county, albeit the peaks just sort of creeps into North Yorkshire, but still 3 of them is pretty good going. And there are so many options. If you've got a family who just want to sort of soak up some of the beautiful countryside and the waterfalls and so on, we've created some really lovely walking routes, obviously guided, with stunning picnics right next to waterfalls where they can go on a beautiful day. They can go swimming and jump in the waterfalls and all that sort of thing, through to some full-on proper hiking. So there is really something for everyone. And the Yorkshire Dales is incredible also for the caves that they have. Now there's everything from the Victoria Cave, which is far more of a, for people like me who don't go caving. And then there are the proper sort of professional caves where you need to know what you're doing and proper guides and all that sort of thing. And chances are you're going to get wet. But the caves are absolutely, absolutely stunning. And then down in the Peak District, which is sort of borders South and North Yorkshire, and you've got, again, a beautiful sort of spa towns of Buxton, and you're just a hop, skip and a jump from Chatsworth. Now, Chatsworth, home of the Duke and Duchess of Devonshire, certainly deserves a tea and training all to itself, because it's quite incredible. But that's something we really recommend if you've got clients going up there. A private tour of Chatsworth is an utterly magical experience. I'd defy them not to want to keep going back. That's for sure. Excuse me. And it's not just Venezuela and Iceland that have waterfalls. Yorkshire is incredibly proud of its waterfalls, and we really do recommend, I mean, we would always recommend including visits to definitely the Ingleton trail, because it's and just, you know, there's something about the power of water, isn't there? And it's just quite incredible. Has been used as all sorts of for all sorts of filming and so on as well. But it's yeah, we'd certainly always include a visit to at least one of them, and then we can get a bit poetic with Wordsworth and so on as well, which is always a lovely thing to do. Now, Whitby Abbey, we tried to find for you actually an image of it at night, because when it is illuminated and you've got the dramatic contrast of the color of the stone and the dark night and the light coming through all of the window spaces, it's utterly amazing. It really is quite beautiful. There's huge amounts of history established to it, being the first monastery and so on, and we will share all of that until the cows come home. But Bolton Abbey is also up there for me. I don't know Kirkstall quite so well, if I'm honest, but there are all sorts of stunning monuments and so on. So if you have guests who are really about exploring the history of the land and so on, then it's well worth including some visits there, because the guides we have are fantastic, and they just bring it all to life. So it really is just lovely. Now, Yorkshire is, I mean, obviously we've got the national parks and so on, but for anybody who loves the flowers and the fauna and the greenery and so on, they will be in heaven visiting North Yorkshire. And Harlow Carr, the RHS Royal Horticultural Society garden at Harlow Carr is quite amazing. It's 58 acres of gardens, and it's got everything. I mean, talk there about the woodland and the wildflower meadows and so on. They even have the Loch Ness monster as well, which I think is quite entertaining. And obviously somebody was having a bit of fun and games when they came up with that one day. Maybe they'd had a couple of pints in the pub, but it's great to see. But the rose garden and the scented garden, they've really got an amazing mix of old and new, which is just lovely. And Brimham Rocks is less manicured, I guess, and less managed than Harlow Carr, but just to sort of, you know, wrap up and go exploring is absolutely wonderful in Brimham. So again, we would chat to you about your guests and what they like doing and what they'd love to see, and then we will recommend our favourites to you. Now on to one of our real favourites. And what Tommy Banks has created is utterly magical. It's one of these reasonably new style restaurant with rooms, a bit like the Hand and Flowers, Tom Kerridge's place in Marlow, and the food is incredible. I mean, the tasting menu. He really does use all of the local seasonal food. So whether it's deer or scallops, they are all served with. They've got an amazing kitchen garden. They've got a 3-acre kitchen garden, so you can imagine they grow pretty much everything. And one of the lovely things actually about the staff up there. They may be all quite young, but my golly, they know their stuff. And you get the feeling that they have been trained to win it within an inch of their life, but they do it in a lovely, warm and approachable way, and answered all of our questions and so on. The rooms are beautiful, and they've been decorated in all sort of different styles. There are some in the stable block. I think there are 5 in the stable block and 4 in the main house, or the other way around. And they really, I mean, it's just gorgeous. It's beams and everything is so old and gorgeous. There are a couple of rooms. I remember we stayed in a room that would not be great for anybody who was over 6 foot, that's for sure. They'd have spent their lives knocking themselves out. So for any guests who want to stay up there, we will ask their height and make sure they get into a room that they can wander around comfortably in. Because much as they've got all of this lovely atmosphere and history and stuff, it's not great when you have to spend your life keep bending over to avoid the beams. Now, the food doesn't stop with good old Tommy Banks. The growth of foodie markets, a bit like, you know, Borough Market in London, has been amazing. And I can't wait to get back up there, actually, because I think in the couple of years since I went pootling around up there, that even more have grown, certainly when we talk to our experts up there. So if you've got some foodie clients, they can be in absolute seventh heaven, because you've got the combination of the restaurants, the amazing foraging, as we heard from Lisa, what was that, 2 weeks ago, I think, 3 weeks ago. I mean, the foraging up there is extraordinary, and all of these amazing markets, and the private tours. We almost do a sort of tasting menu as they wander through the market. So it's lots to see and smell and taste, which is just wonderful. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Yorkshire really does offer some fantastic things for those slightly more adrenaline-seeking individuals who may come over. Everything from paragliding, and skydiving and so on. I mean, the balloon rides that we've arranged for some guests up there are absolutely amazing. Obviously, slightly more reliant on the weather, well, as is the paragliding and so on. But they really do know how to put on an amazing show. So happy to share any of those with some adrenaline-seeking clients that you may have. And this is just a little selection of the type of experiences that we would recommend, including like we do down here, from visiting the vineyards, cheese making, local blacksmiths, and so on, just so your clients are really, you know, getting under the skin of what it means to be from Yorkshire. Actually, I've just realised one thing we didn't include on here is a game of cricket. Now, Yorkshire people take their cricket very, very seriously indeed. And the test matches at Headingley Cricket Ground, just north of Leeds, are amazing. So if your clients are over and fancy a day seeing how the barking mad English people can enjoy a game that lasts for 5 days and can still end in a draw, which is quite bizarre by any standards, but it's fabulous. There's nothing quite like a 5-day Test cricket match. So anyway, we would certainly let you know if there was a game being played, because Yorkshire people take their cricket very seriously indeed. And they can join Queen Victoria as well. And the jet gemstone is unique to that part of the country, and it's absolutely beautiful. And then for a bit of art and culture, obviously Henry Moore and Barbara Hepworth, I mean, is absolutely stunning. So a real mixture of food and sport and culture and history, but that'll give them a really good taste of what Yorkshire is all about, and give them the opportunity as well to travel from the main cities of Leeds and York and so on, through some of the smaller towns, which is just lovely. I remember going up to the Yorkshire Moors just after I'd finished my finals, actually celebrating that I didn't have any more exams to take. And a girlfriend and I went exploring and stayed in glorious little pubs that were in the back of beyond in these little villages. And it was a magical experience. Golly, about 30 odd years ago, that was scary. So there is our little tour of North Yorkshire. I hope it's given you a sense of what your clients can enjoy up there. There's lots to see, and we will focus, because we've had some requests for a few more northern destinations, and we certainly will do, and link them into some good old literary tours. I mean, there are the Brontes and Wordsworth and all sorts of them come from up there. So we will certainly be sharing more with you. But if you have any questions, thank you, Todd. It's been Scarborough. Good question. It's a little bit tired, to be honest with you now. I think because the fishing industry and so on has been quite badly hit up there. It's become a bit of a tired seaside town. I think, like a lot of them, it's working hard to build back up its reputation. But I'll be honest with you, Barbara, there are other places I would recommend, perhaps before Scarborough. I hope that answers your question. But there are some other lovely coastal places. So if we headed out to the coast, then yeah, a quick trip to Scarborough, but maybe not to stay there, I think. Oh, I'm glad you've all enjoyed it. That's wonderful. And next week we're heading back down south again, and we've done a couple of trips to Cornwall, but obviously en route to Cornwall is the absolutely stunning county of Devon. So looking forward to sharing a little bit more about things to do down south. So I hope you've loved that. Obviously, Lucy will share all the information. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you also. Oh no! Oh, Barbara. Well, we haven't got snow. We've got pouring rain. So hopefully my jab won't be cancelled. Oh, sorry. I hope they rearrange it soon. How annoying! That's down to the weather. So yes, and a huge thank you for sharing your ideas via the survey and so on that we sent out last week. Please, if you haven't responded, please share your thoughts and ideas with us, because we want this to be as valuable to you as we possibly can. So thanks for joining us. Lovely to see you, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much. Bye. Bye.